Welcome back to our European city skyline city, Kralhrad. In the last episode, we worked on this district here and the Parliament building, as you can see right now. But whilst we were making fancy department stores and monumental buildings, the regular people of our city actually ended up worse off due to a lack of housing and jobs. So, today we'll build a neighbourhood shaped by the railways and rivers that surround it. Let's get started. So today I want to work on basically all of this stretch. I'll actually put some districts down, planning. I actually never do this, so this will be a start. So I want kind of probably up to there. And then obviously on the other side, I want this to be an inland port, a river port. I've already set out some railways which would have gone up to the quays, up to where boats would dock. Our railway network is kind of severed, and I've set out this one. I can't tell if it kind of looks a bit too modern. It has a bit of a high-speed rail alignment as opposed to kind of a regular railway alignment. I know obviously we're not going to base the entire city off of Prague, but I know around Prague, the Esko Praha suburban train lines, they take like really indirect routes. So I might actually want to copy that. To make this as realistic as possible, I think we're actually going to have to almost do it chronologically. So we'll start off with these rail lines, then we'll do the roads, and we'll go from the industry's heyday all the way to, I'd say we'd be in a half derelict state by the time that this build is taking place. So let's set out some roads. We could also we could make like a controlled industry area. Now, since this is a port for a city and not for a factory or even like a kind of productive area, I'm expecting most of the trade in the city to be coming in rather than out. We'll also put obviously some old factories, but as for most of the, buildings which still stand, I would think that they would be warehouses. Now, I've just created this kind of mock-up stars, and I think this is kind of what I want to go for. Obviously, outside of this grid, when we start having to deal with the train line, it'll get a bit messier. And I do kind of want a messy look. I don't want this to look too grid-like. Now, as much as it would be cool to have an active train line for just cargo going to the port, I don't really have anywhere for the trains to end up. So I am gonna make this an abandoned line. So as for these large logistics centers that you see basically appearing everywhere, I'm gonna put ours in like quite visible view from the roundabout, because they'd basically be able to advertise it a lot easier. We'll probably add some others, but I'll just leave it with these two for now. And let's give them a unified color scheme. And then the reason I used these assets, number one, because they have really nice tilted roofs, but number two is because I think they're quite easy to hook up with a road. Obviously our roads are a bit useless right now. So if I let's give ourselves a wind turbine. So now that I've got them officially connected up, I'm gonna connect them up visually. So what we could actually use, because these assets look really nice. They look like loading bays. So we can put a bunch of them angled. Now, for the realistic fact, I've been making all of these intersections a lot wider, so then the trucks actually can make around the corners. Although actually I don't think there would be any there. Now, moving on to our actual docks. What I can see, I mean, I've looked at Bratislava so far, and which has like an actual full-on channel. Now, from what I can see, it's not that different to a normal port. What I've done though is I've made the cranes a bit shorter, because typically river barges would be shorter than normal ships. We could do like a massive highway bridge downriver as well, actually. But yeah, so I think I'll just set up most of this actual area very similar to a normal port. I don't want to overdo it with cranes. So let's say I had... I mean, this might be too many. Yeah, I'm gonna say that that's too many. What I also noticed was they had these buildings kind of overhanging, which I'm not fully sure why that happens, but it would be like a building looking very similar to what this warehouse asset is, and these I guess the covers out front of each of them would overhang. Yeah, that's already a good start. We could also do oil reserves, so we can make it here, and it's a good way. It's a good way to actually make an excuse for not making a big build, because usually they're quite sparse, and you can't really mix them with other buildings. And then with them placed down, we can create a perimeter, put a fence down, and then also we'll want to cover it with trees for like national security reasons. I mean, looking at it, it kind of looks a bit overkill, to be honest. But I guess we can make a story saying that it's like for the military or something. But if we do that, then we better kind of make it even more overkill then. Back to our, I guess, main dock. We can create some almost, well, not fully derelict, but some almost derelict buildings. And it's best actually if we don't put them on the current street grid. So if I do them, obviously we'll be cheating a bit because these all is technically still functional. But yeah, that if we basically fill this up with trees and create, let me try that. Oh, this is it. So if we do stuff like that, and because they'll poke through the trees, it'll look like there must have a long time ago actually been something very serious here. We can also create one of these going out into the river like that. Although I wouldn't want it to block the path of normal ships. So if I turn it there. Oh, that looks convincing. And then as for the rest of these triangles, what I'm gonna do, I did it in that video about a satellite city, or inequality, depending on which title you got. We can just kind of put some concrete down, put some warehouses, and this can make it seem like there must have used to have been like a massive complex here, but I guess it was even more polluting than whatever this was because the trees still haven't been able to recover. So I have done a bit of off-camera work, and there's some stuff I can't show you right now at the bottom of the screen, which I think might be next episode. I might show you at the end of this. But so what we've done, I want to add in kind of a factory that can serve as a viewpoint, especially from across the river, and also cements the fact that this port has been going for a long time. And then what you can see here, it's like a redevelopment, pretty much the exact same as Bratislava. They're redeveloping a lot of areas. They're the redevelopment's slowly creeping up to their river port, so it's not there yet. So I guess we're kind of being a bit adventurous with that. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether we should. Even though I'd love to build it up, I could see how it would kind of make sense to also keep it derelict. But then I don't want a derelict city. I want the city to actually progress. So I think we will build it up. To help blend in the factory though, I'm gonna add some trees again. A tip is to always turn off anarchy, otherwise it just gets, it's too dense for your computer to handle, and then furthermore, it doesn't look too realistic. That leaves us with this triangle here, which I think would be a great spot for a shopping centre. So we have this built-in... Wow, you know what? I would love this. Now, obviously, with the built-up city ending literally right here, it does kind of not make too much sense that we've got these wooded areas. But I think the story is that this was always an industrial area, and now it's just been derelict for so long that there's enough space for forest to grow, and there's enough space for this entire shopping center, shopping mall. So I'm gonna add some access roads around the back to frame it, and then it's not directly against the forest anymore. As you can see though, because of the sheer amount of jobs we've created, we now have a deficit of 500 people, workers. So we are gonna be filling out this district here. I have already started, and you already saw it in the intro, and we're gonna base it. I mean, I really love how that viaduct looks. We're gonna make it kind of a mixture between some shorter German pack buildings. So we're gonna kind of distinguish it from the rest of the city by making the buildings shorter. And then also we might throw in some actual planned parts. What I want to start with though is this train line. This is not going to exist anymore. We're going to use that as kind of the basis of its history, but that is not going to exist anymore. Now, along with all of these pretty thin buildings, it would probably be quite cool if we had basically an answer to the world's longest building in Vienna, and I think that would probably fit in this sort of district. Let me change that out. I can't tell whether I would want it to be something like that, or I've used some static ploffables of vanilla EU buildings, and they look kinda plain, but when you zoom up it's actually terracotta, so I don't feel too bad about using that. I wouldn't mind too much if we had a whole building like that. I just can't tell where I would want it to go yet. Well, it's kind of looking at us, isn't it? We could do... Let's see if this would work. For the length of the building, if we use these assets and then sink them down and then color them the same, we could push it all the way over as well. I think we could get this to work. Okay, and with that I have completed the building, and yeah, I don't think it sticks out too much. Its roof might be a bit too high, so I might have to sink it all down another floor, but apart from that, I think it's turned out actually quite well. Okay, so I've now finished all of these main blocks. We have here, I've placed a park. It's a summer theatre. There's this really nice interior of a block in Prague, and I was struggling with the interiors, but I kind of looked at Prague. It basically seems to be a mix of, sometimes there'll be sometimes there'll be like actual things going on in the middle, which is really nice for the community. Sometimes it will honestly just be some trees, and like literally just trees and a patch of grass. So I've mixed it up. I think for this area especially, I don't want it to be too dense. So now, to cement the role of this industrial area in the actual city, I think we need to fill in this gap. And so far, I don't actually have so many ideas. I've placed a tram depot in to replace our temporary ones. We will have to be doing that now that we've kind of got space to do so. I will have to do that for the rest of these amenities here. I could probably get rid of that. So I think our best bet, because essentially this area is difficult because we have to explain why the city stopped going from this and started becoming industry. So what I think one of our best tools is going to be these broken blocks. And basically these broken blocks, they can show that either the city here was bombed or that the city, there just wasn't enough demand to keep on building it out. And that kind of, basically when you have a good reason, when you've got a good backstory, it kind of ends up making more sense visually. But then equally, I don't want our city to be derelict. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna I guess kickstart the redevelopment of this area. I'm gonna place a small complex of office towers, and we'll see how they appear. And then we can kind of show that there was a stage 1. This might be stage 2, and then the stage 1 will be in this block. And so for this phase 1 area, I think we can use these quite nice. Actually, I don't think that's very realistic. Okay, so I've kind of reorganized it all, but I think this is a pretty nice result. What you might have seen at the bottom is this area down here. I think I'll probably do most of this next episode, but I'll just do a start now. I'll talk you through it. So we've got 2 arenas here, and then also what we're going to do. It was placed earlier, but I'll replace it just for the dramatic effect. We will have, if I can find it, there we go. We will have a stadium here. And I think one of our best bets might be, well, I'm conflicted between using concrete. I think that might be it. So we will have a stadium there. I like how it's just a little bit above the railway viaduct. And then also, since we've got a station here, I think there's a train coming, is there? Here it is. So we've got this small train line here. I don't know where to bring that road viaduct actually. But yes, we've got this small train line, which is now probably the first inner city train line that we have. And it just comes across this bridge here. And let's wait for it to finish. There we go, that's cool. The idea is that people going to the stadium would come to this train station, and then they would walk along these paths, and then they'd be able to walk into the stadium. Have I put a path down here? No, I should do that. But as for the rest of this area, I'm thinking that this might be maybe like one step nicer than that side of the river, but it's still not in a city, it's still a bit less affluent. So we'll still have some of these broken blocks. A bit like a Wuppertal almost, with the nice trees and broken blocks everywhere. And then this building in the middle, this is a multi-use arena. It's custom. But yeah, stick around for the next episode, which you can do by subscribing. But yeah, thanks for watching.